listening to the Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net.
Okay, come on, it's after 11 o'clock already. And, better bring the arm to my chair down, otherwise I'm...
Of course.
The other side. Hi, folks. What show is it? It's, I think it's 264. It is Monday, the 16th of February. Now, say good morning, Beth.
Good morning, Beth.
All right. The exciting thing this morning was at 2:02, when Yar looked at the clock, there was an earthquake. We felt the shudder of an earthquake. Turns out the epicentre of it was due west from here. What are you, 134?
Something like that.
134 kilometres inland from here.
What, 17 k's down?
Yes, apparently 17 kilometres deep, but we measured it, of course. That's the first thing. They've got to get up, go downstairs, measure what is going on. And what did the stars overhead tell you?
Majesty.
Majesty, yes.
Completion. End.
Right. Wasn't there something about a quake?
Earthquake. Oh, yeah. It did say tremble, quake, shake.
Yes.
Described the earthquake exactly, yeah.
Hmm.
But in my usual manner, I measure the stars directly above, and then I measure it out to the different planets and the distance in from Jupiter and all that kind of thing. And it was all confirming the same thing, that this is the end.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you can kick back and just sail in now because it's all done, basically. So no one out there to panic. There's the nasties are trying to do all sorts of things, like start another nuclear war. They've been trying to do that since 1950.
1950 was their plan.
So this is the Jews, of course, who's doing it. Lovely people, though, aren't they?
Oh, totally. Do we love the Jews?
Oh,
do we love the Jews? What was that about a Jewfish on the Barbie? Another Jewfish on the Barbie?
Yeah, that's what I used to sing here when I was a kid. Throw another Jewfish on the Barbie. But Jewfish is a local fish, right?
Mm.
Yeah, so it's very, very informative times. And I've been digging deep into the history of India and the Mahabharata and the various things. Now, there's a big clue here that when you are researching something and it says BCE, means Jewish.
Mm.
When it says BC, it means non-Jewish.
Mm.
Now, Encyclopedia Britannica is BCE. Hello?
Excuse me. A very late breakfast. It's one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Now, the Vedas, which is supposed to be 5000 BC or BCE, etc., was actually written 1000 BC. So here's the Vedas that talk about the UFOs and the aliens and the cities of Krishna and how it got sunk beneath the waves and blah blah blah. It goes on, a big battle carrying on, and the atomic warfare and all this utter rubbish was in fact not written until 1000 BC. Now, I shouldn't say written. It was not invented. And then it became a oral repetition of lunatics that repeat things over and over in chants. Right, that's where you start to get your problem. When you start chanting, you got a problem. Right. Like, I haven't chanted once in my life. I sing a few songs now and then at mine over, but there's no such thing. This chanting is utter nonsense. sitting in the yoga position with your feet stuck wrapped around your neck. If anything, it looks quite humorous, but it ain't going to do nothing for you. Meditation doesn't do nothing for you. You've got to remain open-minded and clear. While you're awake, keep everything on a scientific truth basis, right? If it's got BCE in it, don't even look at it. If it's got BC, you've got a chance of getting closer to the proof of being what you really are. But there is a site you can go to, which I've been looking at. It's scaruffi.com, and from there you can get into politics of India, etc. And I've been looking at that quite extensively, and I agree with it. For example, the timeline of British India, also the timeline of modern India, but now we're looking at the actual history of India, and it goes back to 5000 BC, which is what I've been saying all along, when the nobles showed up after the flood, right, to repopulate. Now, this is called the 5000 BC, the Kurugan culture in the steppes west of the Ural Mountains of Indo-Iranian. Now, the word is spelled Aryans, and this is where the Iranian comes from. Because it was from here, from the Iranians, the Aryans went into Iran. And this is what set up Iran. Now, it didn't do that for a very long period of time. So we've got 5000 BC. That's just where it all started. The Hindu, Aryans. So it sounds like Iranians, it's Aryans. Right? So this is what Hitler was on about. Then we got 3120 BC, mythical India, War of the Mahabharata. So we've jumped almost 2,000 years, then 1900 years, a little bit less. Then the Mahabharata starts, and this is all talking about Krishna. Now you go back into studying India and the ancient cities that they have discovered that's under the water, and we spoke about it yesterday.
Dwarka.
And this is where the battle between Krishna and the aliens, evil ones, took place. And finally, it was sunk below the water by Krishna. I think, something like that. I don't really get into it that much. It's like when it smells of bullshit, I don't really like it. I can't stand to read it. And but I've got to sort of have some idea where they're going with it, because it's all BCE bullshit, right? So that's where the Mahabharata was supposed to have taken place. And this is the Krishna and the various gods, and it goes back to 5114 BC, January the 11th. They got that right, January 11th, but nothing else. Okay, so we were explaining yesterday how these ancients who are desperately trying to make this fit will point a tube up into the air, and like the descending passage of the Great Pyramid, it's a timeline that if you go back 5,000 years, it was pointing at a particular constellation and star. So we have the North Star now, which is no longer in place because it's the end of time, because if we crossed over the Milky Way galaxy into the equatorial line of the Milky Way galaxy, we're in the north side where creation occurred, and now drain water down your sink is running backwards. Look at the clouds, look at the satellites from recent times, go back to before 2011. The clouds were turning in opposite directions, cyclones turning in opposite directions in the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere. So it's pretty easy to do. One of the most humorous ones I've seen, it must have been stunning for these poor Africans or wherever they were. You go to the equatorial line and you study the Coriolis effect. So you, as a tourist, you show up on the equator and you've got these little African lads there and a bucket of water with a hole in the bottom of it. Then they put some petals on the top. So then they move the bucket of water a couple of metres above the equator or a couple of metres below the equator, and it starts to rotate as the water's draining out. It rotates a different direction, which is great. Right? It did do that up until 2011. However, there is I think you can find that on YouTube, 2005 Coriolis Effect Africa, or Ecuador, or something like that. Now, after that, there must have been a day when the tourists are standing there when the things weren't doing what they're supposed to do. Right? A day or two later, it's going the other direction. Now, these little African lads or natives will be scratching their ear roll to say, what the hell? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. Then they just start yapping on to the next load of tourists, which is the direction it's going in, not realising it's caused by the fact that we crossed over the Milky Way equatorial line. And of course, the stupid tourists, they all gobble it up. Right? Oh, isn't it lovely? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And you can hear them talking in the background. Oh, look at that. That's marvellous, isn't it? And off they go. If they'd been there 2 weeks earlier...
In opposite direction.
They've been the opposite direction. This is what stuns me about human beings, the control of the internet and the control of YouTube. We put some black salve up on the eBay to sell it, and in Australia, because it's banned in Australia. And you put black salve in there and you won't find our ad. Well, just stop.
Definitely not there. We call it black salve Asian.
So even if you search black salve dash Asian, you still won't find it. So this is how they're getting right onto us, right? Okay, so we go through the timeline now. So we've got 5000 BC. These are where the Indo-Aryan people are first emerged. Now the reason for that is we're looking at, these are the people with the blue eyes, that the Europeans, if you like, are the same today, blue-eyed, white people. Someone's always yapping on about it's a white religion. Not to offend any other culture. I'm just saying you're Chinese, you want to do your own, all fine. But the reality is that the flood occurred, and they were blue-eyed people, they were Essenes, and they made their way into all parts of the world, of the Northern Hemisphere, that is. And this is where the white people... Now, if you go down to the Brahmins, we're talking about 70 AD when Thomas showed up there. Apparently the contract he had to build a huge temple for the one of the kings in 40 AD, and he'd been sold into slavery by Jesus, who appeared to him to go to India in 40 AD to build a temple for an engineering project for this king. When he got there, I think he built a fish hut, and that wasn't quite what the king wanted, so he sacked him. Or it's bullshit. The part of Thomas going to India is true. The Vedas predicting Jesus, right, supposed to be 5,000 years ago, is bullshit, right? So an oral tradition is very dangerous, because you're supposed to be keeping this 100,000 verses of it in your memory, and I can say that there's all probability that they're going to invent something along the line, because as you're munching on Dhaka or something over there, you get a bit of a high, and got to put that in. And I've seen it many times with people I know that become very, very inspired. Well, that drug that we come across down in Nimbin, where I was talking to that fellow who was a cook, remember? And he was saying, what drug is it? It gives you a...
Oh, that's the DM...
TNT or something?
DMT.
MPT or...
No, the DMT.
DMT, is it?
It's supposed to be produced...
Anyhow, it
by
enables you to go into another realm. So when you go into this other realm, as you are now in the modern era, you've got UFOs, you've got aliens. Well, what do you know what they see on the other side? Aliens, all sorts of stuff, right? But you go down to South America, where this drug originates, you start chewing it down there. If you're a European, you'll see aliens, and if you're a native, you won't. So wait a minute, which room are you going to, son? Which one am I going to? This is a big thing. It's all bullshit. It's imagination.
Well, yes, vain imagination's all right.
Demonic. You can delve into the dynamic world. The dynamic world. And you will get that
Democratic
kind
world.
of, yeah, the democratic world.
The
And you
democratic
will
world
get
of
that.
demonocracy.
Because, well, in a democracy, everything is supposed to be out in the open, and which, of course, is the big con. Because it ain't out in the open at all. You think you're getting the truth because you ain't. Because you're being democratised. Right? You believe it.
Democratised.
Yeah. You believe your BCEs, right? That say this and say that, and you'll argue until you're blue in the face. When in actual fact, when we go into the history, getting back to India, we go right down to the invention, the mythical. It says here, the mythical Mahabharata was written. So what about the 2,000 years before that, where Krishna is supposed to be fighting these demons coming down from space with all sorts of ray guns and atomic warfare and all this kind of stuff, right? Now, a man that mentioned that is a man called Oppenheimer. When he saw the first nuclear blast, or atomic blast, because he was the man who was one of the scientists involved in it, he's a Jew. He referred to the saying, brightness, brighter than the sun by 100,000 times, and he was referring, he quoted the ancient Vedas, right? And he's only out by 4,000 years because it's all invented. So we can go down, for example, if you go into the Britannica, it'll talk BCE. Hello, Britannica is owned by Sears Roebuck in the United States, which is a gigantic Jewish corporation that was a mail order at one stage, and then they went into the retail outlet, and I was in fact the first man to wire up the Beast computer in San Diego.
Nobody else could do it, so they get God to wire up the system of the beast.
So I wired it up for him. All these it was a beautiful building at that time. We're talking, let's see, we're going back to late 69, 71 era. And there was a strike on in Canada, so I wasn't taking that. So we went down to San Diego, and the electrical contractor down there had the job to wire up all these supercomputers, and they couldn't find anyone in the electrical field down there to do it. So they asked me, so you're up to do it. So I'm wiring up. There was about 17 of them, thousands and thousands of wires coming in from these computers. Everything was hardwired. Maybe it still is today. But I wired up the first. Now, ironically, I did the date on it, and the star distances at that time was 666.66 or something like that, out to the planets and the main cluster. So ironically, it was all lined up for me to do that. So here I am, Christ himself wires up the computer in America, which takes over the planet, right? Well, I want to make sure they got it right.
Yeah. Now, the mark of the beast is circumcision, right?
Absolutely. Jewish.
Yeah.
Let's say, if it's a BCE, you don't have to call them Jews anymore, call them a BCE. So if it's a BCE abomination,
oh, there we go.
It is.
Yes. A BCE, that's so close to...
BC. Huh?
Yeah, a BCE.
Yeah.
If they're a BCE.
BCE.
Sounds like some kind of cancer, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Yeah, it is. It's worse than that. Affects the brain of the child.
Circumcision?
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Turns them into, the psychopath, the highest proportion of psychopaths on earth are among the Jews. The Khazars.
The BCEs.
The BCEs. Lovely people, though, I've got to give them that. All right, so we go down through the...
Yeah, go on, babe.
We've got 5000 BC, it's called the Kurgan culture in the steppes, that's Steppes, west of the Ural Mountains, Indo-Aryan. Then we go right down, it tells you right down to, 3120, mythical Indian war of the Mahabharata. Didn't happen. Mythical. That's where Krishna comes into the picture. 3000 BC, the Proto-Indian European language develops in Central Asia. Proto-European language. Right? 3000 BC, same era, Dravidian-speaking peoples developed the civilization of the Indus Valley. then you got 500 years past. The cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro in the Indus Valley. 2000 BC, another 500 years jump. The civilization of the Indus Valley declines. 2000 BC, the Krugen culture spreads to Eastern Europe and Northern Iran. So it went to Iran, it didn't come from Iran. Big difference. Now we've got Iran, 1700 BC. Indo-Aryans separate from the other Indo-European tribes and migrate eastward to settle in Iran. So here's it's gone to the tribes of Europe, and then they continue on in 1700 BC to Iran. 1600 BC, Indo-Aryan invade India from the west and expel the Dravidians. So now they're coming back. Now what's interesting, it'll get down here, I'll just read a bit more. 1100 BC, the Indo-Aryans use iron tools. Like, we're not talking about making Star Wars weapons, we're shooting down UFOs over this lost city. Indo-Aryans invade the Ganges Valley. 876. Hindus invent zero, which is true. I've said often. The number zero was around the 800 AD that it was invented. That's why the Christians had it wrong in Rome. Right? When they did, that's why they missed out on the zero between 1 BC and 1 AD. They didn't realise that zero had to be counted at 365 days. Indo-Aryan invade the Ganges Valley. Hindus invent the zero. Indo-Aryans rule over 16 Mahab-Jad-Apas great states in northern India from the Indus to the Ganges. 700 BC, the caste system emerges with the Brahmin priest at the top. Now, around that era, a little bit before that, we got Isaiah doing his prophecies. Why?
Right.
Because he's of the same lineage that goes back to the descent of Noah. Right? And he was an Essene. They don't mention Essenes in this. They talk about the white races coming across. Okay, so the caste system emerges with the Brahmin priests at the top. Now the Brahmins, in another article I was reading, the Brahmins were white, blue-eyed. And they are the ones that recognise Thomas that came in 70 AD and they were baptised in the sea. Okay. Now, if you look back to the royal family of India, which is almost suppressed, but it is there, and I've got a page on that. I won't go into it today. But the whites were the royal lineage, and they married the local women. Right? Presumably of the same royal lineage, but of a lower degree. So then there was a whole bunch of the children had to be sort of segregated out to see whether they was going to be part of the royal line or not. Okay.
Now, well, you said 70 AD for Thomas, but it wasn't. It was 52 AD, wasn't it?
Huh? Yeah.
Thomas going to India.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
600 BC, the Upanishads are composed in Sanskrit. That's where it comes from. We're talking 600 BC. They're composed. Okay? 543, the Bimbasara of Bihar conquers the Magadhala region in the northeast and moves the capital to Rajagaha. Now, that is the time of Nebuchadnezzar invading 586 BC. Right? So we're getting past that already. So 600 BC, the Upanishads are composed in Sanskrit, but at the same time, 586 BC, because we're getting closer and closer to
so that's 14 years later.
So it's 14 years later. So it's all about the same time. And they're closer to India than it is, of course, they're coming from Babylon. Right? So you can see how the history starting to line up. Now, these things aren't prejudice because they are simply taking the actual historic events that happened in India, that is in India themselves. So we've got the British going over there who put all this all together. looking at it from the BC perspective, before Christ. So they were Christian. They weren't trying to make anything meet and marry up. They're just saying, this is what it was. These are the names. Go into the royal line of India and you've got all the names, how they all fit together, right down through to the Brahmins, right? Then we've got 327 BC, Alexander the Great invades the Indus Valley. And he got around, didn't he? Then the death of Alexander, 323. It's accurate. So if that's accurate, you go back 100 years, that's accurate. Go back another 1,000 years, that's accurate. All the way through to 5000 BC. Why? You can't go any further than that. Why? Because of the flood. 300 BC, the Ramayana is composed. Now this is another religious text, right? Let's go forward a little bit. We've got 184 BC. The Maurya ruler of Brahmarada is assassinated by Pushyamitra, restoring the Brahmins to their influence while persecuting and slaughtering the Buddhist monks. So now the Buddhists are getting set upon by this very vengeful king, and he's trying to get back to the original Brahmas. Then we've got 170 BC, Bactrian king Demetrius the First. Now Demetrius is a Greek name. The first expands Bactria to northwest India. Then we've got same era, Sumati Bhagava. This is a Manu code, prescribes the rules of everyday life and divides Hindus into 4 castes: Brahman, warriors, farmer, traders, and non-Aryans. So the other ones are all Aryans. And then the last one is non-Aryans who want to join in but say, well, you're not quite the right colour, you haven't got blue eyes. But you can see, it's obvious. Okay, so India, this is 100 BC. India is mainly divided among the Bactria, northwest, Adras, east, and Sangas of the south. Then they got the Bhagavad Gita is composed. Hello? That's 100 years BC. Not 5,000, as they're trying to indicate. Then we got 78 BC, the Sangha dynasty ends. 50 BC, King Simaka installs the Satavahanas in Andhra Pradesh and extends the kingdom to the whole of the Deccan Plateau. 50 BC, same era, the Scythian Sikhs conquer Mutia and Taxila. Same era, Thomas, an apostle of Jesus, visits India. 50 AD, same time, the first Buddhist stupa in Sanchi. 127 AD, Kinsha, king of the Kushan, enlarges the kingdom from Bactria and Abedistan, Kashmir. I think it should be Kashmir. Well, I suppose it's got with the K, so it's Kashmir. Punjab moves the capital to Peshawar and promotes Buddhism. So here's Buddhism coming back.
Now, Raj, our Hindu holy man, the true Hindu regard Buddhism as a counterfeit.
That's right. So, 380 BC, Buddhist monks carved 2 giant Buddha statues in the rocks of Baya, Bactria, Afghanistan. And on it goes. So, now, more interesting, however, is the fact that all you got to do when you read something, if it's BCE, close it down, don't even read it. Or, if you want to make a study of it, see what the bullshit they're pouring out, and then go back to anything that's got BC in it, and in regarding India. And that, which I just gave you, is the www.scaruffi.com. That's where all this is coming from. And it gives you all different directions of legitimate history of India. Now, they don't go back more than 5,000 BC.
The bottom line is, somebody has to come back to sort it all out.
Well, that's what it boils down to, yeah. But I mean, it's so obvious once you realise it from the point of view of where I'm telling you to look at. is that if you're going back 5,000 BC, why don't you go back to 10,000? They're talking now 100,000 BCE, right? When they start talking, and what happened, and blah, 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 and on it goes, right?
Now, you, over the earthquake, you measured all of the planets.
Yes, I did.
Do you remember what it...
It was 99... yeah, I've got it written down.
the distance of all the planets, but what did it mean, babe?
Now you got me on the spot. I'm sitting on the spot right now. Okay. Through the idea of vital activity, force, and violence. From the number 970, that's Greek. The vital activity, force. Now, it's one of these strange words. You go to 970 from 970. So it's a typo, right? So it's probably 971.
Well, what about the little measurement that was God, Christ, salvation?
What? I've forgotten.
Last night you were telling me, you were going, oh no. And then you were talking about the distance out. Or was it the distance to the? Was it the distance from here to the epicenter? The distance to the epicenter.
No. What I was talking about yesterday, I'd measured. Let's see if I can find it. I'd measured the distances between. Here we go. We've got Everest at 29,029 feet. Okay, so you look that number up. I won't do that right at the moment, right? Now, you've got the latitude and longitude. We know exactly where it is because you can... it's all satellite stuff now. They know where the highest peak is. That's not a problem. Then you've got the Marianas Trench. So, Marianas Trench, its depth, of course, is also ascertainable by sonar. And it's over 36,000 feet. There's a bit of an argument there. They're about 70 feet back and forth, right? Plus it's 7 or 8 miles long. So it's not, it's the centre of it is what we're getting, the lowest point. Okay, so from the Marianas Trench, which is 11:22:4, so 11 degrees, 22 minutes, 4 seconds, by 142:35:5, to my rebirth location is a bearing of 169.44 degrees. 169.4 is Emmanuel in first Matthew 1:23, which has a value of 8880, which you've heard me mention many times now. If you haven't, well, you've been asleep. But the word Emmanuel means God with us. So my brother, half-brother, was born on the 25th February 1935. The sunrise to sunset was 780 minutes. Now, that's the word Ararat in Hebrew. So we then look up Ararat and see where that is. And of course we have Ararat, which is above Turkey. So what is Ararat? Well, it's the height of it is 16946 feet. So there's your 1694 number again. So we then have what we're doing, Everest to the Marianas Trench, and then down to where I was born. The length is 5116.3 kilometres from the Marianas Trench at a bearing of 169.4 degrees. Well, this is very, very close to being accurate. Now, the 5116 word is Nava, and it means a home. Hence, by implication or satisfaction, lovely, also a home of God, a temple, comely dwelling place, habitation. It goes on to the salvation via God through Christ. The salvation of God can only come through Christ. That is where we go back to India, why they are trying so hard with this BCE bullshit to change it all around, because it all identifies the flood and the Great Pyramid, etc., etc., etc. So I've done many drawings on this And I'll just see if I've got some others here. Have a bit of a look at. Let's see, what's that? Okay. Let's see what we got. I do talk quite a bit about in this next PowerPoint that I've been playing with, whether I'll do it publicly or not, I don't know, because I'm getting bored with it. It goes back in time. I was doing the numbers between when my sister died and my brother died, which is 1, 2, 3, 4.5 days, which is the date I crashed the logging truck in Canada. So it all fits together. And then how my sister used to physically beat me. I think she used to take the bottle out in the mouth and beat me with that as I lay in the crib. But she was one cruel bastard, I tell you. Now, the difference in age between her and I is the word phobos, which is a primary phobiami, to be put into fear, alarm or fright, be exceedingly afraid, fear and terror. She did that for years. So I'm writing here, she terrorised me at every opportunity. But because she's also a psychopath. She's coming from the Reggie side of the family, right? Because he is the actual father of her. That's why she was a psychopath, because he was a psychopath. Right? My brother did the same thing. Right? And my mother would sit there and, don't hit him in the back and don't punch him in the head, Reggie. To a 4-year-old child. Talking, no wonder I was a lunatic by the time I went to school. I could fight like a thrashing machine. Right? Take a punch off an adult, no problem. Yeah, so I'm just looking for this one particular thing. Might do a word search, I guess. I do so many things at a fast rate that I find it difficult to, when you ask me a question, to think, what the hell is it? Because I got 4 PowerPoints going at the same time, here, for example. Right? But it boils down to, and I will get to it later, that the distances all relate to the salvation of God specifically.
Specifically through Christ.
Through Christ only.
Only.
That's the beauty of the concordance. You take one word, it can have 200 or 300 words explaining what that word
Describing
means.
what it means.
Then you look up where it is found in that particular 1,000 or 500 or whatever times it's found. And sometimes the word will have the same word in English, but it's a different number. So that takes you off another merry-go-round, right? Well, this is what I've been doing for 20 odd years, 30 years. Right? Sorting out how to go through the King James Bible. Now, the King James Bible, for you Protestants out there, you probably don't realise it, but King James was a Catholic. And he was the first anointed on the Rock of the Scone, which is the stone that passed through all the Scottish kings, back to the Irish line of kings, back to the line of kings of Judah, which were Essenes, and goes back to Jacob, Israel, who slept on the pillar. This is Genesis 28:11. So what you've got Genesis, skip through the bullshit of Moses, and then you've got your prophets, and you go into your prophets or your genetic line. 1 Chronicles 5:13 is the most important one, but 2 Chronicles, and this is the lineage back to Adam, and you find that Seth's in there and all that kind of stuff. And they've also stuck Moses in there, which is bullshit. Now you can see where these things have been incorporated into it to give you the laws of Moses, which is all invented bullshit out of Babylon.
And that's what you came to. You came to fulfill
fulfill the laws of Moses and overcome it by letting it crucify God in the flesh with the soul on the inside. And once a crucifixion occurred, the soul then bled out of the body. That's why I've got wounds all over, still today you can see them, right? All over my body, from my head to my toes, and the blood comes out in all directions, so the soul will come out in all directions. Then which is now proven, that the red moon appeared. Right? Starry Night Software's got that. That's done. Right? Most of the older software, you couldn't get it. But with the newer software, it does show you the position of the moon. And unfortunately for the lovely people, I know, for the chosen people. Unfortunately for them, it confirms the crucifixion and resurrection. And then, lovely people again, with Ron Wyatt, found when they actually, for the first time, he mentioned, for the first time, they had actually helped a Christian in their research.
Yes.
Because he said this is where Jeremiah's grotto is, and sure enough, in there is the Ark of the Covenant. And later on, he discovered it. And later on, he was brought back from America because they went in to get it, and there was four men dead as doornails that went in, approached, and he went in there. And being a male nurse who was in the pathology department of a hospital, when he looked at the bodies, they were all cross-eyed, meaning they had a stroke.
Yes, he knew immediately.
Something frightened them.
The four of them had a stroke. Well, they were cut down. Nobody can approach it.
You can't approach it.
Now, he was also told, this is really interesting, the Israelis couldn't go in there because they're unclean, they're filthy, they are the Goyim. It's a complete reversal. And read the Ark of the Covenant, you can't approach it unless you are holy. That's in a nutshell. Now, Ron Wyatt was a very good man, humble, blown away, and he was chosen to do what he did, which was to find the Ark of the Covenant. And the day he found it, it was January the 6th at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It was 1982. At that moment in time, Yah himself was 1982 weeks old. Now, the angels who told him how to, first of all, scrape the brown stuff, which was dried blood, off the mercy seat. He did it with a ringful from a Coca-Cola can. Take it to the Israeli laboratory and have them reconstituted 72 hours in a centrifuge with saline. And they were amazed as they could see the blood was live and the chromosome count, etc., was one parent. All chromosomes from Mary, 23, plus the one Y chromosome being the male chromosome, but there were no... And they said that this blood has only one earthly parent, plus the Y chromosome. So with that, Ron Wyatt said to... And they're saying, well, who is this? And Ron Wyatt said to them, this is your Messiah. Because he was. The whole point of Yitzhak Kaduri is that the one that they crucified, Yeshua, was their Messiah. But they didn't receive it then, and they were refusing to receive it now, so there is no salvation for them, because it comes, the salvation of God comes through his Christ, who is back on the earth, being this time God himself, the soul that was released at the crucifixion. It was all about releasing the soul contained within the blood, releasing it so it could come back now. The resurrection is reincarnation. This time the soul born on the outside of the flesh body of those who have already made it. So there is schism all over the place. It's interesting as Adam Yates is working on this marvellous document he's putting together. He's referred to the history of the schisms between East and West within the Roman Catholic Church, and the Eastern Orthodox and the West being the Roman Catholic Church, what it is that they believed, and it's this hoo-ha over the understanding of the Trinity. Well, the bottom line is none of them understood it. They've all got it completely wrong. Even Pope Benedict himself had to be corrected in his understanding. And what makes him great is that being humble in heart, pure in spirit, pure in heart and humble of spirit, that he humbled himself and was corrected. And of course he had that marvellous Kundalini because he is Peter. That's it in a nutshell. So with
the email he sent him, and he said when he had that Kundalini, he said, "Oh fuck."
I don't think that word has ever passed his lips, babe. As a small child, he'd promised he'd always be good, and I'm sure that was never ever part of his vocabulary. That's why when I used it at the reading of the apostolic letter, and I end it with, for all of you trolls out there and those who believe that Brian himself actually cooked this up, I said, well, fuck you. And then explained to Father Giuseppe, please understand. But anyway, so everybody's got it wrong. That's why it's the Comforter. He's back to explain all things and teach. And he has the testimony of Jesus because he is Jesus, all grown up this time, just as you're all back here, and whoever you were in the past, you're older than you were then. You've grown into and beyond, you've grown up through and beyond whoever you were in the past. And you're here for the judgment, the resurrection. Now, it's already a done deal. It's already been decided before you got here whether you'd be raised to life or death. This is why we say over and over to the ones who are raised to life, because they recognise the blatantly obvious for the pure in heart, is that, there's no amount of convincing, and don't try to convince anybody. They've been raised to life, which is God's salvation through the Christ, meaning today, in his second incarnation, the second advent, or they don't, which means that they've been raised to death and they'll be taken out at the reaping. And, not a happy. But anyway, all things are explained quite simply, really. Keep it simple, stupid. Kiss me, brother. Keep it simple, stupid.
Interesting thing in the history of karma. That's another thing that was invented, right? And it actually is seen in the Mormons where they get it from. Because the Mormons because they call themselves God makers. Mm. And in other words, they weren't made by God, but they make God. And you're baptised to dead.
Right.
And so in the karma traditions of India, if you do exceedingly good works,
right,
you can palm some of that off to a relative that wasn't so good.
Right. Oh, it's much like the pollution credits of today with the global tax.
It's carbon credit idea.
The carbon credit idea. One nation can buy the carbon credits from... Yeah.
The idea is, say, you take a place like, Brazil, and the amount of population there is and the size of the country, therefore their carbon output is very little compared to the United States. Mm. So the United States
will buy the
credit from Brazil, produce exactly the same amount of carbon output. But those lovely people, the ones we talk about that were thrown on the barbie in Australia,
they've just created another market.
It's now a market which they get a
trade on, and they get a percentage.
Now, the beauty of it is, it's all in cash. So the credit goes across into one bank and the other, and when the money goes into a bank, they can then leverage it to 9 times.
Right.
So you take the carbon credits that are coming from Brazil or some other country, and they're buying from all around the world, and they go into a bank for the transaction into Brazil. Well, the Brazil banks are owned by their own central bank, which is then able to leverage the money, which they can then trade on the international forex at a 400-to-1 leverage. So they get $1, for example. They can then leverage it to 9-to-1, and then they go to the international forex. It becomes 400-to-1. So it's 400 times 9, so that's 4,000 roughly to 1.
Yes. That
they can then put onto international forex, and they then spike the money up and down through banks from the international currencies of 188 currencies traded simultaneously around the world.
Right. You want to hear something funny? I mean, this is how...
I thought just what I said was hilarious.
Oh, well, totally. This is... All right. Just explain very... When you instructed the disciples that when you pray, go into your closet.
Don't make a show of it.
Don't make a show of it. All right. Now,
pray within.
Pray within. All right. So you
don't say nothing.
You don't even have to speak. You can just pray.
Go to bed at night and sleep on it.
That's right. Now, thanks to Adam and his research, he's researching schism, the East and West schism. I've got to read this. This could take up the rest of the time because we really are groping today.
I did want to mention Michael Manning.
Oh, yes. All right, go back.
All
right,
important.
Michael Manning. Michael. All right. Following this now for several years. Beautiful children. Their latest, Michaelis, a boy after lots of girls. Now, we didn't know this of Mike.
He was
This
talking
was
to
news.
Pierre, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, it's I see. Oh, look at those beautiful photographs of his children. This is a news site. That's all there. All right, going back to the conversation. Bottom line is that Mike had a car accident and he died twice in the same night, kind of thing. And he died, and he met his daughter in the spirit, because she wasn't born yet, Emmanuel. And Emmanuel told him, "You've got to go back because the angels are coming to the earth." Now, Emmanuel was born, it's been several years later. Okay, guys, chums of Yah, you've got all this conversation in there I haven't caught up on, so anyway, bottom line is that Emmanuel, in the spirit, told Michael, "You've got to go back because the angels are coming to the earth." Now, this was in 2003, 2004. You first uploaded to the internet 20th of December 2006. So, Michael, just correct me what year you found Yah in. It was when Emmanuel, now on the earth, was 21 months old. That's right, because 2011 we were in Toowoomba, and you told us the story then, how you had been searching on the YouTube, a truth seeker, what should I watch? And Emmanuel, now 21 months, backing up, at 3 months, Emmanuel, small baby, you're walking into, where was it? Somewhere like a Walmart or a Kmart or somewhere, wherever you live, and an older man, white hair, wearing a vest, stopped you to pray, asked if he could pray and bless your beautiful daughter. And you said, by all means, and he started making these signs with his hands, and you said it was like clearing away anything around her that might be trying to interfere with her. So that was at 3 months, and then of course 18 months later, what do you want to watch on the YouTube when Emmanuel sees a screen capture of Yah, as a video. YouTube must have been on the side, and she points to Yah. That's how you found us. And of course Yah looks just like the dude who stopped you to pray when Emmanuel was 3 months old. So it was Emmanuel.
Was I wearing the vest in that video?
I don't know. Michael, you could answer that for us perhaps. No, it wouldn't have been. No, because we got the vest going to New Guinea in 2009.
We've taken it to New Guinea, we did all these things.
We bought it to go to New Guinea.
And it kept disappearing, then show up sometime later. As a matter of fact, it's disappeared again.
Yes, I'm sure I left
we haven't seen it for a long time now.
It was Egypt. It disappeared in Egypt, and it hasn't returned. But at Toowoomba, when it disappeared, it was gone for about 10 days, and then it was found in a place so obvious where we had been several times in the looking for it, was at my feet. I go to get into the truck. Yours brought it down. Now, Yah had got into the truck to bring it down, the 4-wheel drive. So we're talking about a couple of minutes from the shed to where I was. It wasn't in there when he got in. He would have noticed it immediately. But as I opened the door to get into my seat, there is the vest, like it's been dropped, and it's got a little peak, pyramid peak.
Like a cone shape.
Cone shape, yeah, just been dropped. I said, the vest, it's back.
And I looked in that truck every day since it disappeared 10 days earlier.
Yeah, well, that's the first
place. I was
place
using the truck every day to go up and check the cattle.
The cattle, but it's the first place we looked as we were looking for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And little Amber says, well, look in the trees. She had something that was taken by birds and up in the trees. So we did. We looked everywhere. It was gone for 10 days and then reappeared. So it was that vest that, and it was Gabriel who fronted up. It looked just like Yah. That's the whole point. That's how Mike got onto us. Now, what is interesting is this latest conversation with Mike a couple of nights ago. He said he had an accident. We didn't know about it. 2003, he died. He's gone. And then he meets his yet-to-be-born daughter, Emmanuel, who tells him, you've got to go back. The angels are coming to the earth, are all coming to the earth. Hallelujah, hallelujah.
Now what about Michael, the other baby, Michael?
Oh, Michaelis. And in this conversation that Michael was having, he had, because he was chatting with Pierre through the, he goes, oh my God, I've just had a flash, like a kundalini, a flash. As he remembered, the angels coming to earth, and then the next baby, of course, that Mike and Manon have, is Michaelis. Michael. Michaelis. He's going, oh my God, Michaelis. And remembering the date of Michaelis' birth, Michael, remind me, what day was it that Michaelis was born? Because little Luna was born on the 1st of November. That was the 1st of the 11th. But Michaelis, remind me, it was sometime in October, wasn't it? I'll have to go back through. Anyway. So, Kundalini. All good. And this is why he has to be here to sort everything out. I mean, hello? How many Hindus want an endless cycle of reincarnation and this go on for another 427,000 years in their cycles and enough
Well,
already.
they talk about in these ancient things, they talk about how many stars there are and planets out there, etc. They never mention any galaxies, however. So if they were coming from the spiritual realm to give this information, they'd be also talking about galaxies. A star, when you're in the northern hemisphere on a bright night, you can see millions of stars.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
But you don't know that most of them are galaxies.
Yes.
Nebulous.
All right, guys. Chums of Yah, I'm looking at your photographs.
Huh?
Oh, Rodney's got his photograph, and Pierre and Cindy's there, and all the rest of it. Chums of Yah. And this is a conversation they've had through the night or something that I'm just catching up on now. And the babies, of course. It's all about the babies. It's beautiful, beautiful. And there's Michaelis.
Now, we also have, there's a possibility some of our followers, ladies, lovely ladies they are too, could be joining us in India.
Yes.
And I'm not going there for anything specific because we know most of the stuff that they talk about in India is bullshit. Because that's what we've been looking at it very deeply here to make sure that we've got some insight into how they think, because they are all lunatics. And there were some Muslims. Well, we get you painted up with a blue face, you know, little child running around. That's Krishna. Hello.
A saffron robe.
Saffron robe and all these bloody things painted on your forehead and all that. It's supposed to mean something. And go into a temple and they got the Kali and they got something else and nothing
else. Do you know
else.
what? The best.
And then one's got an elephant's head.
Look, there has to be something prophetic in this because.
Well,
no. Well, listen. Just the loveliest couple that we have encountered were Raj and Meena, Hindu, converted to Christianity, got it to recognise us. No trouble, just beautiful, humble, lovely people who have really the best of both. I mean, it really is about taking both. I see it as the uniting of two understandings to come together to the truth. And you know, the 200 million from the east could very well be the untouchables.
Also the angels. And I'm looking forward to Anna.
Yes.
Lovely, I love her dearly. And of course Petra, I love her dearly.
Petra, yes, the girls are organising to join us.
If they can get over there, I'd be very happy lad, because I've got to go a long way to find myself in a position where people actually love me. Right? Like, look at our family, what a lovely people are. You got your one daughter that's terrified to come up here. She's trying everything she possibly can. Come all the way from Canada, but she's avoiding me like the plague. Right? Old Black Eyes is back in town.
Well, I'm not saying anything. She said that she was trying to get up
But
here
so
for
far,
Friday
has
and
my
Saturday.
predictions been 100%?
Well, yeah. yeah.
Oh, well, okay, I was
She
a couple of
did speak
minutes
to you.
out the other night.
She did speak to you the other day, so that's a breakthrough.
Yeah, but she didn't ask to speak to me. You forced her upon me.
No, I didn't. I said, would you? And she said yes.
Well, she's got to say yes, bloody well, hasn't she? And you said, just don't piss him off. Like she's done before.
Oh yeah, big warning. Just don't piss him. He's lovely. Just
Like-
don't piss him off.
If the Pope pissed me off, I tell him to get rooted too.
Well, I circumvented all that because you would have been pissed off. Oh, so, wow.
Well, I'd have been up him like a bloody rat up a drain pipe.
Totally. So I circumvented all that and slew him with the truth biblically. Anyway, can we go because we've got we've
We're supposed to be a crowd of innumerable people. Unruly.
innumerable. Half the world.
Them as well. And probably unruly. So we might be throwing people out the ear hole when we get there. They start yapping on.
Well,
they don't
anyway,
take any
let's-
shit, as you might know.
Let's find out. Yeah, it's after 12 and they're expecting us and
All right.
let's cut this short.
Hasta la vista.
Later, Gators.
Big hair.
Have fun. Oh, it's 60 minutes anyway. Where did it all go?
Where does it begin?
All right.
To tell the story.
Later, Gators.
just
Off
over
with
and
the.
off
I'm not even going to go out with anything.
La
So.
la 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 la
Bye.
la 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 la.